Welcome once again to another episode of Tea Talks. I am their host, Jes'ka Washington, and hopefully you've been watching our episodes by now and kind of getting the lay of the land of what it's like to actually teach, be an educator, move, do all that stuff to Dubai. I am so thrilled to be doing this episode right now because it's one thing to just try to come out here and teach. It's another thing to lead a movement. Anytime anybody leads anything, that means that you're setting up the responsibility to take charge and take care of people. And I'm speaking with three leaders of movements today while we talk about leadership abroad and how it looks, especially here in Dubai. So first and foremost, I just commend you for stepping up to the plate saying, yes, I can. So today we have...
Hi, I am Veronica Griffin. I'm born and raised in Chicago. Most of my teaching experience was there, and then I was a school leader in Arizona.
You can go ahead, Chicago. Chicago always somewhere.
All right, my name is Aaron Betts. I started out in Cleveland, Ohio as a substitute teacher, and then I became a teacher, and then we moved to Detroit. And I got my principal license there, and I was a principal, or an assistant principal in Detroit, and then moved across seas 2016. And I've been here in Saudi Arabia and UAE since, and Kenya.
I mean, that's... Okay.
That works.
Oh, I mean, if that's what you want to do.
I'm Zetha Nobles. I'm from Oakland, California. I started teaching in Maryland, Washington, D.C. after graduating from Howard, and left HU, taught for a few years, moved to California, and started doing administration in California, so in the Bay Area. So.
Yes. So one thing I want to say right here, right now, is even when we talk about American education, in front of me, we have three totally different districts. Mm-hmm. So three different experiences. You started as a substitute teacher. Don't even know what class did you have. What class did you have that said I can do this?
Yeah.
Kindergarten.
You had kindergarten.
Yes.
Oh wow.
That's so interesting.
That is an experience.
Did it for 1 year, and and the thing is, how I did it was. I just graduated from college. I was looking for a job, and a friend of mine was a principal. Was like, "Yo, I know you're looking for a job. I got something easy for you." Okay, cool.
Kindergarten is easy.
And I'm like, "What is it?" He said, "Man, I know you're real good with students. You're real good with kids. Kids love you. You should go into teaching." I'm like, "Man, whatever." So initially, I was going to go into law school, but I was like, "Okay." When I became a substitute teacher, I did that first year, and I'm like, man, don't ever do that ever again. Man, but I love those kids.
Yeah.
I had a ball, but I was like, you know what? This is not the age for me. So I went to high school, okay? And then I later got my, because I did substituting for a few years, and then I finally went back and got my license. And I taught high school and middle school, but I love high school. Mm-hmm. And yeah. So I had a ball. I always had a ball.
Well, I want to take that piece and I'm going to go on a different realm. This is sponsored by Black educators in Dubai. And being that, I don't know, you're African American, we're all African American. It seems that education in the States, when we come from an African American perspective, always kind of pushes on, we have to take care and do right for our children.
Absolutely.
We're trying to build systems, we're trying to be part of policies and take care of our generation of children because we have not, did not get all those things. But now you're over international. And did you walk away from that plight or that conversation?
You know, for me, I always felt like in the States, I have more of a stake in the education of Black and brown kids in particular. And all the work I've done in the States has primarily been with Black and brown kids. Yeah. But it was always my dream, my passion to live overseas since I was a teenager. So I had to kind of reckon with that. How do I leave these Black and brown kids and come over here where the kids don't look like me? But I think the way I reckoned with it is that these kids need to see us too. Yes. Especially because the media portrays African American people in such unsavory ways. I think it's really important that, especially in a leadership role, that they see us leading the schools, making decisions, helping them become better human beings, helping them, grow up to be the leaders of their countries and other things such as that. So I think it's really important, especially when these children love you too.
Yes.
The same way that our children love you too. You know you've made a significant impact, not just in the States, but in the world too. So I think that's really, you know, the most powerful thing about African Americans coming overseas is the media just portrays us in horrible light. But when we come here, and we're teaching them, we're leading them, we're loving them, it changes the dynamic completely.
Not only that, but they love us.
Definitely.
They love us unconditionally.
Definitely.
And you don't always get that
It's
in the
true.
U.S.
Yeah.
I've gotten that unconditional love here, been here for a year now, from my parents, from my students, beyond anything
It's
I've
true.
ever experienced in the U.S.
It's true. I've always felt that the American dream is more attainable. And we international folks, we expats, especially black expats, say that a lot. But the American dream is more attainable for us, especially outside of America. Yeah.
And the fact that was coarse.
Yeah.
Did we see the coarse? It is not. What's it? Stephanie Mills. It's not home. Is a place that you are. Okay. But I like that fact because I do feel if we go into that depthness of ground, and you guys are going to have to wait because we're going to get into leadership. But since we're looking for what was American and what's now new, and then we're having culture seeing us in different lights, do you have a responsibility that you carry personally or intrinsically when you wake up and go into your schools?
I think so, and I think so in the responsibility for many things. One, the responsibility of being a black woman and what that brings with it. You know, we were talking about Michelle Obama a little bit early, and to me there is excellence that we walk with and that we carry with us. And we have to make sure that's what we exude all the time. Even when we want to turn up a little bit, we have to make sure, turn up when you get in the car. You know, when you're playing trap music, you turn it down before you go into the parking lot. And that's real talk. You know, we do want to make sure all those things that have created us and created black excellence, including our music, our dance, our dress, all those things. Sometimes you can turn it down a little bit and go inside so you do exude the best of the best that we are, you know.
I don't think it's different for me though from the U.S. I feel like it's the same because in the U.S. it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you are putting forth your best front for everyone. So I haven't felt a need to do more here or to do it differently. I felt like it's the same in terms of that aspect.
I agree with that.
For me, I have to destroy all those stereotypes as a black man.
Yeah.
So for me as a black male, I always have to portray myself in a certain light, in a certain way. No one ever questioned me about my educational background or experiences and my knowledge. But every once in a while, I always get that cue. They wish they had somebody white. You know, I paid attention at some schools I've been to and some schools I've visited. A white person can say anything and be the stupidest thing in the world, but it's seen as something that's gold. And I can say the exact same thing.
I've had experience too.
It's true.
Inshallah.
But for me, I've never had to change anything. The way I am here is the way I was back in the 60s.
I agree with that.
The only thing I have to do is that I try not to be that stereotype of what they used to seeing on TV. Okay.
But you do that at home too.
No. No, I'm unapologetically black.
You try to turn it down at home too.
Oh, do I?
In terms of going to work and going to school, I turn it down a little bit.
I don't.
You will not hear my music on blast when I pull into the parking lot at my school, either there or here.
You liable.
I love that. Good for you.
You liable to come to my office here after police. Or you might hear some Frankie Beverly or something going on.
The versatility of it.
It's true.
So
I should have my office here.
But if we go into a different realm, and I'm sorry because right now you don't understand. There's so much just vibes here. Aren't we all? And I'm gonna say I'm 40. So I just feel like there's a piece where you hit like 35 where you say, wait a minute, this is who I'm going to be.
And I like
Period. Yeah, because I do feel that if you're coming in, if you're talking from a child who was 90s or 80s, baby that I remember YSB. I remember Teen Summit. I remember you must be this person to go this way. I remember Different World. So we were trained and groomed to act a certain way, to be a certain way in order to gain certain goals. And now I feel like we've done the goals, but the checklist doesn't feel fulfilling. It was somebody else's resume, and we're now refiguring. And so for you to go in there and say, I'm going to play my music all the time, that is a testament to saying, hey, I love who I am. I'm going to be and I'm not going to be a rebel. And then for you to turn around and say in the same breath, I know they look at me a certain way, so let me go ahead and bring it here, because especially as a woman, we are most often seen but never heard. So I have to pick when my words are picked up.
Absolutely.
Now, I do play my music in my office, but it's not loud. You know, they might be able to hear it a little bit, but it's not loud like it would be at home, you know.
And plus, rap music is hard to pick up when you're ESL, so.
Yeah. but they sing it. They play it and they dance to it.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
I got a kid right now who's a Tupac fan. He knows all.
Yeah, they love it. They love our music. They love it.
So it just.
They love the culture.
They love our music.
They love the culture.
They love the culture. They love us.
They love us.
True.
And I do say that going into and being different from the stereotype for our students is really refreshing. And one of the things that I felt, I'll give you my story. I was doing observations, and for those who don't know, I'm math. So to see a black woman over math is just, that's not her. It's always a male subject. And not only I'm not teaching math, I'm over the department. So you always got the whispers, miss, that's the head of math, that's the head of math. And I walked into a 3rd grade classroom, and I'm sitting there, and I'm being all I'm supposed to be with the paper, and I'm observing, and I see a little brown child, which is just like me, little kinky hair, looking dead at me. And now, states me, my mama me, the old school wanted to look at, if you don't get back to work, like I was about to get an eye. But I was like, is this poetry or poetry? Like, I don't know yet if the eye is a cultural thing yet.
It works for me.
It works. Absolutely it works.
I didn't get a little girl. I looked, and she stared at me, and I stared at her, and I said, yes, I look like you. And she grinned. And just to turn around and put that into perspective is that to see us in this realm. And you don't understand when you're out here, there are so many stereotypes. And people can choose to be offended by them, or people can turn around and say, no, we do this too.
Exactly.
Right.
But you know what, the reality is, I think, as we mentioned before about black and brown children and our quest to really, help our children achieve. When I moved from Chicago, which was primarily black schools, to Arizona, which were primarily Hispanic schools, they were still my children.
Yes.
They were still the disenfranchised.
Yes. Yes.
Even here, number one, I have lots of little black and brown children
They are
in my building that look like me, who tell me, you look like my
Exactly.
So in terms of just that outward appearance, I have that. But then I also have children who, though they may come from Emirati families who may have money, they're just as disenfranchised.
It's true. In so many ways.
As the children that we have worked with all of our lives in the U.S. And so for them, it is equally as important, especially with Emirati outcomes being so much lower than the outcomes at international schools and British schools. Just the fact that they have to rise above, just like we did. And so for that aspect, I feel like I'm doing a service similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Nicely stated.
So we'll talk then and dig into that piece when we talk about the work. What does the work look like?
Is this on camera?
Let me put it bluntly. I might get in trouble for this, but it's a Cleveland thing. Some of them, unfortunately, some of our constituents don't know their hand from their ass.
Okay.
Seriously, they don't know anything about pedagogy. They just have a degree. Okay, and so for me, when I try to explain just basic pedagogy theories, they don't get it. They just don't understand it. Even when, I'll give you an example. One school I worked in Abu Dhabi, I was the elementary principal, right? So we decided to bring in Kagan as a cooperative learning theory. And you know, Kagan has 1,000,001. Now at that time, 90% of my staff was Irish. Because the parents, they want white faces. So we had Irish. So we had Irish with that strong accent, who have degrees, and some of them were in education, but didn't know how to teach. Because all it is rote learning. They fought against this from day one, until they finally bought into it to see this stuff actually works. Now I went to another school, same issue. I go to the classroom, I do the observations, I see where they need to improve, I give them suggestions after suggestions after suggestions, and it's just like, they don't get it.
Well, I would say that actually you touched on such a true point, and if you watch other episodes, is that that's one of the turns that's happening with the educational system that is very, very young.
Yes.
And the pedagogy is important. And when we talk about KHDA, they are looking at people who have pedagogy. So one of the things you have to understand, I guess, if you're looking at leadership, if you're looking at trying to come over here, is that we're coming from a system where you had to learn pedagogy just to get your certificate.
Yes.
We had student teaching. It was something that was on the beginning end. We're out here.
It's on the back end.
It's on the back
It's on the back end.
And so it's one of those things that when you're coming in, you do need to come in with, to me, the professional developments in mind that this is what we're going to do. And this is where the hard work comes in, because it's more than just professional development. It is the coaching. It is the instruction. It is the modeling, because it hasn't been seen. And so that piece is very, very true. So when you say, one of those headaches works is how do you time manage running a school, finding qualified staff, teaching these things, setting up curriculum, and understanding that some of these things that we do when we talk about what's in the classroom is starting from a basic level, starting from a very ground roots level.
I always see my situation now is a little bit different. I only been here for 2 months, so I'm coming at the tail end of the school year, where we made some significant changes since I've been there. Next year, all those things that you just stated. Is planned, is going to be done. But this year, just watching that, I'm like, the principal that was there, just there. And what I've learned, especially if they're Emirati, if they're, I just put this non-American, and even including our British brothers, they're just a figurehead. They're just there.
That's been the history for a while.
It's usually the vice principal or the heads of the grade levels or the departments do all the work. And so when I got here, my first day, I'm like, this is, what did I get myself into? I can go back to the projects. You know what I mean? But he's there in the projects. I had teachers, I had qualified teachers who wanted to learn, who were willing to learn, and knew what to do. They just needed leadership. I get here as the complete opposite. Complete opposite. They don't know what to do, and there's no leadership.
Well, I'm gonna, because everyone's experience is different, and I'm coming in as a head. I was a head of math. What I noticed is that the way my principal led and the way that I led was totally opposite. And I actually celebrate that I had my entire department behind me, because I was an in the trenches leader, and they have said we have never seen this before. And so when you talk about the pedagogy, they can, you crazy, but we'll try it. And so you do have to build, and I'll say that with leadership, you have to build a relationship.
That's what I was going to say too. You have to build those relationships in order to get people to follow you. And coming in new and coming in with all your ideas and wanting to go in and wipe things out doesn't work here. It doesn't work.
It don't work anywhere.
So we really have to build those relationships and get people to trust you, to like you, and to see your vision. But as a leader anywhere, you have to be very clear about what your vision is, because if you don't, then the HOD gets the work and the responsibility, and you just walk around shaking hands. And that's not really what our role is. Our role really is to be instructional leaders. Instructional leaders, site managers, and builder of the culture. That to me is the real true responsibility of a school director or of a school principal, to be those three things. It's not just to walk around looking cute, it's to really get the work done. And the work really comes when you get a staff who sees your vision and is ready, willing, and able to follow you, and can readily admit that they may not know something and come to you saying, well, I don't really know how to teach fluency. And you're second grade teacher, and you don't know how to teach fluency, but for you to come and tell me, I don't know how to teach guided reading, then I can either train you, coach you myself, or I can put you in some PD, or I can pair you with another teacher who's really good at it. But if you don't build those relationships, the teacher's going to close their door and be fearful of you every time you come in thinking, I'm coming to get you. And I don't operate in a I'm coming to get you model. I come to coach, to help, to cheerlead, to hopefully help you become a better practitioner of this instructional program that we use, you know.
I had very different experience. For me, we were a new school. I handpicked each and every one of my teachers, and every teacher is from the U.S.
Okay.
So they came with those pedagogical skills.
That's a blessing.
Unfortunately, they came into a school that was new.
Yep.
That opened last minute. They got here 4 days before the kids arrived. And with only 100 students in the school.
Okay.
So the number one.
That's workable.
The number one focus was getting more kids and making money and not spending money haphazardly. So my teachers did not get the resources, the support that they needed. We don't have an HOD. We don't have a vice principal.
You're the vice principal.
We don't have a principal. I'm
You're
the director.
You're the director. You're everything.
We don't have an operations manager. So when the canteen company quit because they're not making enough money.
The rich people quit.
Yeah.
Girl, that's half the reason I stay at my school.
We're on canteen number 4. Okay. So when the bus company decides they're gonna pull out of their contract, when the construction company did not correct the leaking roof and it's worse. So yes, so for us, I didn't have similar issues, but we still have issues. You know, I will say that I am very fortunate because each and every one of my teachers stayed on board. They hung in there in the trenches with me. I've heard that over here there are lots of runners, they call them runners, that they go home for the break and then they never come back. And so I haven't had any runners, and they stuck in through thick and thin, and it's been a lot of things. So I haven't had those same experiences.
Well, I want to go ahead and look at the fact and not focus on the runners, but the thick and thin piece.
Yes.
And I do think that you cannot mentally prepare yourself for coming out here. You think you can.
No.
You think you can build yourself up. You just don't know. What's it say? You don't know until you know. If you ain't never been to the ghetto, don't ever come to the ghetto. And I'm not saying this is the ghetto. I'm just saying if you ain't never been here, you can't speak on something if you haven't lived it. That's all I'm saying. You can't speak and be about something if you haven't lived it.
What's the saying? They say you think you know, but you have no idea.
But not leaving on that is then, and I'm going to probably say right now we're going to have to go into a part 2 series. So just hold on if you pause, because we'll come right back with it. But then, how do you get through the thin?
I think we mentioned it briefly before we started. It's really the relationships that you build with each other.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, when I got here,
school.
I met a sister who was in administration, and we just linked up, like on Facebook. Hey girl, what you doing Saturday? Let's go to this brunch. And she and I have been rolling real tight and real close ever since. And you know, I think Veronica too, someone told me, the sister named Veronica, she works at a school with the same curriculum you have. So I was like, okay, let me find this sister, you know. And when I heard this brother was coming, I'm new to Dubai too.
Yes.
So when I heard this brother was coming, I was like, okay, let me find him, because you really do need to have a community. And it's not even here in Dubai, but anywhere. You need a community. All my friends, I always say, all my friends are educators. You know, all my friends are educators. Because we all have the same frustrations. We vent the same kind of way. And then not just the bad parts, but also the good parts. While we're talking here, I'm thinking, you know, your PD, and my PD are probably similar PD. Why don't we link together? I send my staff to your school for some PD, and you're doing this, and you send your staff to my school if we're doing these things. Because we really have to kind of vibe in that way where we all support. I mean, why do I have to create the same PD
Mm-hmm.
when you already are doing it.
Right.
I'll send you a couple of Durham over to your school to pay for lunch or brunch, and then we go and we work our staff together, you know. And I think because of, you know, Dubai, and not just Dubai, but so many other countries have this business model of education.
Yes.
And in that business model of education, it's kind of different from our experiences in the States.
It is.
But it's not so different where we can't take some of the best of our practices and bring them here, you know. And I think we need to make sure our communities, you know, work in a special way. Like I told you, I need a teacher.
Right.
Well, I have one for you.
Absolutely.
You know, we need to be able to do that.
I think that we're going to pause on this piece, but really push out the fact where I don't know if we've talked about the importance of collaboration enough in the way that you just articulated.
Yeah.
Is that we're all going through something and we're all going through stories.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to come together because I have spades night and, you know, just, yes, we have spades night over here, brother. And you get it out. But then the other piece is saying, okay, if we are going to have to be proactive, not only in our schools, let's go ahead and be proactive as a district and just build these things because we know it's needed. We know that there's a math. We know that they don't know what the metric system, they know the metric system, this is my thing, but we have to teach them U.S. curriculum standards. So let's put this together in a PD to see what are our best practices. Because that piece, I think, is one of the missing links out here is coming in together so we can turn around and help each other be successful.
And it has to be led by us because the schools won't do it because there's so much competition. The businesses, their competition, they don't want you talking to them in school. They don't want anyone pilfering your teachers.
Yes.
You know, they don't want that. So it has to come from the leadership.
Well,
Definitely.
I'm going to pause the conversation. I'm going to pause the
I had a point,
conversation.
but I can come back.
No, we're going to come back because I only got so much tape. But I will say that there's that Black Educators in Dubai is in its first year. It was just the brainchild. And when I hear these things, that's the reason why it came together.
For sure.
Because that's the reason.
Yeah.
We are paused. So that means you go ahead and click over to the next link and we're going to continue on.